What's the code again?
199. The code is 199.
Okay, gotcha.
Can we get some test buzzes from the red team? Cool. And now blue.
Magical.
Cool.
All right. Looks like we're being broadcast live. So if anybody else wants to say something that'll possibly infuriate me and lose points, now is your chance before we get started and I read the rules.
Pistons should have been a dynasty. Just saying.
Mostly in like the 04 era.
Are you a Detroit Red Wings fan? I think I could maybe find something nice to say about.
Yeah, and a Red Wings fan. You can.
Negative 18 is the score.
Steve Yzerman, greatest captain in hockey history. Great man, great Canadian.
You're back to -2.
I heard Detroit's nice this time of year.
I despise the University of Michigan.
Oh, okay. That's minus like 30. Bye.
Beautiful crime-free Detroit.
Yeah, no, Detroit's gotten better, but I wouldn't call it beautiful. I am in lovely Chicago, but I am a fan of the Michigan. You could say nice things about the Cubs. Anyway, we'll get started up. Hopefully you're all logged into your phone lines or whatever you may be logged into other than this. You all know how this works, so I'll make the rules quick and easy, and then I'll let you ask any questions you might have. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ethan, but many of you know me. Many of you have heard of me if you haven't known me. As I told people in earlier matches, I am still the reigning champion of my high school quiz bowl league. With the most points ever scored, which makes me so much cooler. Made me cool in high school, but makes me even much cooler now that I still tell people that fact. I used to be a TPT player. Now I'm just a host, and I have a lot of fun with it. I am not Bob, so we'll have a different type of surprise substitution if surprise substitutions appear today. We have anywhere from 0 to 3 surprise substitutions. They will be signaled by a dancing taco. So more of that to come should you encounter one along your journey today through TPT. As you all know, this is an elimination match. So one of you will stay, one of you will leave. We will find out who as we get into today. So a lot of pressure on this. Same way this always works, we will do 2 rounds, 30 questions each. That's 6 categories with 5 questions apiece. They will increase in difficulty, maybe, but they'll at least increase in point value with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 points in the first round, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 points in the second round. In the case of a tie, we have an extra category that we will use to tie break, and so on and so forth until only one team remains. As you go through today's game, remember some of the new rules are: first, you cannot consult after a question has been read and before you ring in. You also cannot consult once you have rang in. You can only consult in the case of a steal. And for a reminder on steals, if one team answers their question incorrectly, rings in and answers incorrectly, the other team has a chance to steal. At that point, I will go to the captains. You can consult for 10 seconds and provide an answer. Captains are Ben, correct? Give me a thumbs up. And Ray, thumbs up. Cool. You guys are TPT pros, so I know you know how to get this done. I will let you know once I need an answer, okay? Remember, the other new rule is that you can ring in no more than 2 times per category, whether you answer correctly or incorrectly. So use your buzzes in wisely. I will give you about 10 seconds after I read a category's name to quickly consult with your team about whether you want to use a strategy for when you ring in or not. What else do we have here? That's mostly it. Don't get on my bad side, or you could easily lose points. That's not true. I can't do that. I wish I could. I tend to be somewhat patient, but we'll see. It's before lunch, so for me, so I can't say that for sure. Don't break any rules. Don't do anything else. I will be keeping a hawk eye on you, as will my assistants, the lovely Eric Nathanson and the lovely Dan Strafford. Any questions before we begin today's matchup? I know your palms are sweaty, you're excited, and you're ready to go nervously. Questions? Okay, I waited the 7 seconds after asking if there are any questions. Neat. Well, give yourself a good stretch. Stretch out those buzzer fingers. Again, if there are any issues, if you have some sort of tech problems, please, if you see something, say something, come off mute and let us know. Other than that, though, stay on mute until I call upon you. Otherwise, again, you will incur my wrath. So, welcome back. We're going to get started with the first category, first round, with the 1-point question. The first category, to give you 10 seconds to deliberate, is a literature round, and it is classic novel spoilers. I will give you the spoiler of the plot, and then you tell me the name of the book. I see some suspicious glances. All right, means we're ready to go. All right, hands on buzzers, 1-point question. Itinerant workers George and Lenny dream of owning a ranch. Lenny, Ben.
Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men is correct for 1 point. Lenny accidentally kills a girl. George kills Lenny. Spoiler alert. That's what happens. 2-point question. 2-point question in classic novel spoilers. Swiss scientist creates monster that craves bride. Scientist makes and destroys bride. Scientist dies. Monster mourns. And it looks like... Oh, so we got Andy.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein is incorrect. I'm going to take away 2 points. I'll read it again for the blue team and Ben. Swiss scientist creates monster that craves bride. Make sure to go back on mute. Swiss scientist creates monster that craves bride. Scientist makes and destroys bride. Scientist dies. Monster mourns. 10 seconds back.
So we're chatting and consulting, but Miriam, I'm going to ask you. Josh and I both think it's Frankenstein.
Hey, you're off mute.
Yeah, we don't have the phone call. This is how we've done it before.
Got it.
Bob. He's
our
liked the live discussion.
I'll allow.
So stay.
You're correct, Ben. Go ahead.
All right, Frankenstein.
Frankenstein is correct for 2 points. Sorry, Bride of, a terrible movie sequel. 3-point question in classic novel spoilers. 3-point question. Hands up, buzzers. Heathcliff is raised in the Earnshaw, right?
What is Wuthering Heights?
Wuthering Heights is correct for 3 points. Nice job, Ray. 4-point question. Hands on buzzers. Raskolnikov murders Miriam.
Crime and Punishment.
Crime and Punishment is correct. Nice job for 4 points. Raskolnikov murders an old woman, confesses and is sentenced to 8 years in Siberia. Unlustly for 5 points. Hands on buzzer. Constance marries paralyzed Sir Clifford. Has Miriam.
Lady Chatterley's Lover.
Lady Chatterley's Lover is correct.
You guys, I don't like this strategy. I just want to buzz early.
We can hear you, Ray. Constance marries paralyzed Sir Clifford. Has an affair with the gamekeeper, gets pregnant, awaits divorce and new life. Nice job. It is 12-1. Well, hopefully we got some of our strategy figured out in the first category, and we got some of the nerves out of the way. Nice job, blue team. There will be Babka. You know you're lit. It is 12-1. We will move away for those of you who don't read. I can see those of you who don't read, yeah. To TV, controversial TV. Controversial TV will be our second category. See, I got a little bit for everybody today. 1-point question. 1-point question, controversial TV. This singer's hip gyrations on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1957, Ray?
Who's Elvis?
Who is Elvis Presley? Elvis Presley is correct. We're not shown because they were deemed too sexual. Elvis Presley. They only filmed him from like the top up. 2-point question. In a speech, this real-life VP blasted fictional Murphy Brown for her choice to have a child out of Josh.
Dan Quayle.
Dan Quayle was the VP who blasted Murphy Brown for her choice to have a child out of wedlock. Clear the buzzer. 3-point question, controversial TV. Hands on buzzers. This animated show proved nothing is sacred with the episode Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. Ryan.
South Park.
South Park is correct. Classic episode. 4-point question. 4-point question in controversial TV. She shocked many with her wardrobe malfunction in the 2004 Miriam.
Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson is correct. Her wardrobe malfunction at the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show. Hard to think that was like 13 plus years ago, right? How old we've become. 5-point question. Big point question here in controversial TV. Hands on buzzers. It was alien telekinesis that caused TV's first interracial kiss on this show. Andy.
Star Trek.
Star Trek is correct for 5 points. Nice job, Andy. Little bit of movement in the score, but we are still 21-7 with There Will Be Babka. Still in the lead. 2 categories down. All right, so we did novels, we did TV. Let's go to the history of candy. The history of candy. Those of you with a sweet tooth. Okay. Let's start with the 1-point question in the history of candy. Originally, this candy bar that debuted in 1932 was made of 3 pieces in 3 different flavors. Hence, Joe.
Three Musketeers.
3 Musketeers is correct for 1 point. I just got 3 pieces in 3 different flavors, hence the name, the 3 Musketeers. 2-point question, history of candy. Hands on buzzers. Peter Paul's first candy bar was the Kona bar. Its second, in 1920, was this chocolate and coconut bar, still popular today. Ben.
Mounds?
Mounds is correct. You're almost on Almond Joy, weren't you?
I know.
But Mounds is correct for 2 points. There are no almonds in Mounds. I like Mounds better for that reason. Who needs that extra protein from almonds? 3-point question. 3-point question in the history of candy. Hands on buzzers. The Fifth Avenue candy bar was first made by this company, famous for its cough drops. The Fifth Avenue candy bar was first made by this company, famous for its cough drops. 10 seconds. Time. Triple stumper on Jeopardy as well. It is not Vicks. It is not Halls. It is Ludens. Ludens is the Fifth Avenue candy bar's originator. Yeah. You learn something sometimes, right? Nice to stump you. You're 2 really good teams, and if I can stump you, that makes me happy. 4-point question. 4 points. Hands on buzzers. The clucking bunny could Miriam.
Cadbury.
Cadbury is correct. Didn't get very far into that one. The clucking bunny could tell you that this company hatched its first cream eggs in 1923. 1923. Nice job. And lastly, for 5 points in the history of candy. The York Cone Company was best known for ice cream cones before introducing these cool round treats. Ray.
What are peppermint patties?
Peppermint patties are correct for 5 points. Way to pick up the big 5-point question there, Ray. Score is 27-13, and that's halfway through our first round of the game. 4th category is going to test some of your more geography skills. It's unofficial state nicknames. I will give you an unofficial nickname for a state. You give me the state. These are short clues, so expect them to go pretty quickly. Okay. Hands on buzzers. Hands on buzzers. For 1 point. Seward's Icebox. Andy.
Alaska.
Alaska is correct. Brought to us by Secretary of State. Secretary of State Seward? Interior? I think he was Secretary of State then. Anyway. Alaska is correct for 1 point. 2 points. Hands on buzzers. The birthplace of 8 presidents. The birthplace of 8 presidents. 10 seconds. Ray.
What is Virginia?
Virginia is correct for 2 points. You know, I thought it was Ohio the first time I saw the clue, and some of you probably weren't sure which it was. I felt the same way. 3-point question, 3 points. Hands on buzzers. The Switzerland of America and the highest state. Miriam.
Colorado.
Colorado is correct, and I think the highest state takes on a new meaning now, right? Glad you like that one. 4-point question. 4-point question in unofficial state nicknames. Hands on buzzers. The Star-Spangled Banner State. Sorry. The Star-Spangled Banner State. Andy.
Maryland.
Maryland. And we know why it's Maryland, because that's where it was written during the War of 1812. All right. Our 5-point question in unofficial state nicknames. Tight game, 30-20. Hands on buzzer. The coal state and the birth state of the Miriam.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania is correct.
Oh, God.
I got a little nervous that it was going to be West Virginia for a second, but the coal state and the birth state of the nation is Pennsylvania. Nice job for 5 points. All right, after 4 categories, the score is 35-20, still holding on to that 15-point lead from the blue team. There will be Babka, named after the Teapot Dome scandal, even if they didn't know. The 5th category is going to take us into famous humanitarians. Famous humanitarians. Okay. 1-point question in famous humanitarians. See if we can piece this together. In 1853, she became head of London's Harley Street nursing home. A year later, she shipped out to Scutari, Turkey. Andy.
Florence Nightingale.
Florence Nightingale is correct for 1 point. Nice job. Famous humanitarians for 2 points. Hands on buzzers. Prior to moving back to India in 1914, he lived in South Africa for 21 years. Ray.
Who was Gandhi?
Gandhi is correct, editing the Indian Opinion newspaper in South Africa. 3-point question. After World War II, this Boys Town founder served as a... Ray.
Who's Father Flanagan?
Father Flanagan is correct for 3 points. Hands off. Hands off. Get out of here. 4-point question coming up. 4 points in famous humanitarians. This Scottish-American steel magnate once gave Andy.
Carnegie.
Carnegie is correct. Andrew Carnegie is the correct one. So good that you got it. Nice job for 4 points. And our last question for 5 points in famous humanitarians. Hands up buzzers, if you can put your hands on your buzzer. 5-point question. He helped support his humanitarian efforts in Gabon in the early 20th century. Miriam.
Albert Schweitzer.
Albert Schweitzer is correct by giving organ concerts in Europe. Way to get those 5 points back. That tightened up the match. It's now 40-30. There will be Babka. A little bit of competition coming up, and thanks to famous humanitarians. Our last category before the point values double and my patience halves. It is pronouns. Pronouns. And a little bit about this category. All of the answers will start with pro. P-R-O. All of the answers start with pro. If you say something that doesn't start with pro, I will make fun of you. So pro. Got it. 1-point question in pronouns. Hands on buzzers. 8 ounces of yogurt contain about 8 grams of this. Ray.
What is protein?
Protein is correct. 8 grams of this. An 8-ounce sirloin steak contains about 70. Protein is correct for 1 point. 2-point question. It can be an introductory scene of a play or the... Ray.
What is a prologue?
Prologue is correct for 2 points. Nice job. 3-point question in pronouns. Popularly served with melon, it's paper... Miriam.
Prosciutto.
Prosciutto is correct. Love me some prosciutto and melon. Just got back from Italy last month. Ate a lot of prosciutto and melon. It's paper-thin slices of ham that have been salt-cured and air-dried. And 4 points in pro, hands on buzzers. Introduced in 1986, it's one of the most widely prescribed antidepressants in history. Miriam.
Prozac.
Prozac is correct. In your hands, get to leave the buzzer for the next question. And lastly, the 5-point question in pronouns. Hands on buzzers. It's an object that's designed to be hurled or shot forward, like a bullet. Charlie.
Projectile.
Projectile is correct for 5 points. Tightening up the game. We've got a good match here, and the score is 47-38 after the first round of play. Because there's an odd score and an even score, this means that we won't see a tie. So only one of you will leave the Thunderdome at the end of round 2. But great job on the first round. No surprise substitutions. That's crazy. Take a big stretch. Another big deep breath. I'll try to continue reading words. We'll see what happens. Second round. Point values, as I mentioned, are doubled. So this is where the magic happens. First category is going to be the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel. Questions about meteorology. Let's see how your science knowledge works. 2-point question, hands on buzzers. A tropical storm in the North Atlantic that reaches 74 miles per hour is called a hurricane. If it's in the Northwest Pacific, it's Ray.
What is a typhoon?
Typhoon is correct for 2 points. Nice work. Fun fact, when I was in middle school, I wrote a whole paper about how I wanted to work at the National Hurricane Center when I grew up. So I can tell you all about the Saffir-Simpson scale and other exciting things about barometric pressure when it comes to hurricanes. 4-point question. 4-point question in the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel uses this type of colorful satellite image to show the relative warmth of objects. Colder ones are brighter. Miriam?
Infrared.
Infrared satellite is correct. Colder ones are brighter, while warmer objects are darker. Well done. Make sure to go back on mute. We got a 6-point question in the Weather Channel. Showing the density and motion of clouds, this type of radar, named for an Austrian scientist, Ray.
What is Doppler?
Doppler is correct. Named for an Austrian scientist, can predict the formation of a tornado, which does not use the Saffir-Simpson scale. It uses a different scale, like F1. 8-point question, 8-point question, and we have a surprise substitution. Surprise substitution. Surprise sub. There's a dancing taco. I can't do the song. That's the best I've got. Dancing taco. Dancing taco indicates we have a surprise substitution. This is an 8-point question for this question only. We're moving to a different category. Remember, this still counts towards your buzz limit in the Weather Channel. So be aware of that as we check out our 8-point question here. Our 8-point question here is going to be Oklahomies about famous Oklahomans. So hopefully you know about Oklahoma. Here's your 8-point question, the surprise substitution in the category Oklahomies. Born near Ada, Oklahoma in 1918, he was one of the first evangelists to hold large-scale television revivals. Andy.
Billy Graham.
Billy Graham is incorrect. We will take away 8 points. I'll throw it over to Ben and Co. I'm going to reread the question for you, and then I'll give you 10 seconds. Born near Ada, Oklahoma in 1918, he was one of the first evangelists to hold large-scale television revivals. Discuss.
Well, Miriam, I don't know if you have an idea. Do you want to guess it?
I do.
Go for it.
Oral Roberts.
If your final answer is Oral Roberts, you're correct for 8 points. Nice job on the steal. Way to go. There will be Babka.
Used to work with ORU in Oklahoma when I was in Arkansas.
Wow.
So, Kaplan luck.
Yeah. Luckily, you have that one nugget about Oral Roberts to make a 16-point steal happen. Nice work. Let's go back to the Weather Channel for our 10-point question and see what we can come up with. One last question here in the Weather Channel. Hands on buzzers, unless you can't. Fronts are boundaries where different air masses meet. Alternating red and blue lines depict this type of front with little or no movement. Fronts are boundaries where different air masses meet. Alternating red and blue lines depict this type of front with little or no movement. 10 seconds. Time. Miriam, did you know this one? No. A stationary front, right? Little or no movement, stationary front. It was right there for you with 10 points, but you just couldn't grab it. 59-38. So that surprise substitution steal was kind of a big deal. Well, we still got 5 more categories. Next one, we'll leave weather and go back to something that the rest of you might like, unless you're me and you like hurricanes. Pop culture. Pop culture questions. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 points in pop culture. Hands on buzzers. I think anybody can get any of these if they know this bit of pop culture. 2 points. When Sinatra caught his act, this Mr. Warmth comic said, "Make yourself Ray."
It was Don Rickles.
Don Rickles is correct, the Mr. Warmth. Make yourself at home, Frank. Hit somebody. Terrible. 4-point question. 4-point question in pop culture. Hands on buzzers. He found the joy of sax with his 12 million selling Breathless. He found the joy of sax with his 12 million selling Breathless. Ryan.
Kenny G.
Kenny G is right for 4 points. We now judge you for knowing the answer to that question. 6-point question in pop culture. Hands on buzzers. Not the joy of sax, but in the 1940s, this sex therapist was a sniper for Jewish forces in Palestine. Miriam.
Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth is correct. A sniper for Jewish forces in Palestine turned sex therapist. That is a great LinkedIn, right? Like that's a LinkedIn that you'd definitely be excited to read about. Awesome. 8-point question in pop culture. Hands on buzzers. Sean Connery played one of the most Scottish-sounding Lithuanians ever as a sub-captain in this, Andy.
Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for Red October is correct. One of the most Scottish-sounding Lithuanians ever as a sub-captain in this film. Poor Sean Connery, a favorite of Jeopardy. And the 10-point question, 10 points. Hands on buzzers. Mr. Blackwell said, "She dresses like the centerfold for Farmer's Almanac. Definitely not a good thing." Mr. Blackwell said, she dresses like the centerfold for the Farmer's Almanac. That's definitely not a good thing. 10 seconds. Really missing out on these 10-point questions. It was Martha Stewart. Somebody got it on Jeopardy. I guess they knew the quote, that she dresses like the centerfold for the Farmer's Almanac. All right. Well, that's the end of pop culture. We have 4 categories left. The next category is R&B. I know you're all huge R&B fans. It's not the R&B you're thinking of. You're probably not R&B fans. It's royalty and ballet. A whole category about royalty and ballet. Even a worse R&B for many of us. Hands on buzzers. Let's see what we can learn about how the royals deal with ballet. 2-point question. Charles and Camilla are characters in a ballet named for this princess. It premiered, Ray.
Who is Diana?
Diana is correct. They're characters in a ballet named for Princess Diana that premiered in Manchester in 2005. Okay, 4-point question, more in R&B, royalty and ballet. In 1985, to honor the wishes of her late mother, this princess reestablished Les Ballets de Monte Carlo. In 1985, to honor the wishes of her late mother, this princess reestablished Les Ballets de Monte Carlo. Charlie.
Grace Kelly.
What was that?
Grace Kelly.
Grace Kelly is incorrect. We'll take away 4 points from Casa Marzu and throw it over to the blue team. I'll read it one more time. In 1985, to honor the wishes of her late mother, this princess reestablished Les Ballets de Monte Carlo.
Caroline of Monaco.
Is that a final answer from the blue team?
Yeah.
Well, we're consulting because Josh is saying Catherine and Miriam, you're saying Caroline. Josh is pinging saying yes or no. Are we?
Miriam. Miriam has it.
Okay, Miriam, submit your final answer.
Caroline.
It's correct for 4 points. Nice job on the steal. Caroline of Monaco. Yeah. I got nothing. 6 point question. 6 point question in royalty and ballet. I could talk about how I used to live in the south of France, but that would get me in trouble. 6 point question. 6 point question. Here we go. The first ballet, Ballet Comique de la Reine, or Ballet Comique de la Reine, was presented at the court of this Medici queen of France in 1581. That's what I'm saying. The first ballet, Ballet Comique de la Reine, was presented at the court of this Medici queen of France in 1581. 10 seconds. Time. Catherine. Catherine is now the time for Catherine. If you play Civilization 6, you may come across Catherine there, the Medici queen. Okay. 8 point question. Royalty and ballet. Who knew this could be so exhausting? Hands on buzzers. 8 points. This prince, who has 2 daughters, became patron of the English National Ballet in 2001. This prince, who has 2 daughters, became patron. Ray.
Who was Andrew?
Prince Andrew is correct. I had no idea. Nice job for 8 points. Hands off. Yeah, get out of here. 10 point question. 10 points in royalty and ballet. This queen, who abdicated in 2013, is a big fan of ballet, and the Netherlands Dance Theater often accompanied her on state visits. Miriam.
Beatrix. Queen Beatrix.
Queen Beatrix is correct for 10 points. Triple stumper on the show. Way to know your Dutch queens. It's a sentence I didn't think I would say today. It's the next category, category number 4 in round 2. Next category is You've Got Company. You've Got Company. I think it's going to be about companies. I don't have much to tell you. All right, seem ready to go. 2 point question, and You've Got Company. Hands on buzzers. The red and white labels used by this soup company were inspired by the uniform. Ray.
What is Campbell's?
Campbell's is correct for 2 points. I don't know if you knew the end of what I was going to read, but they were inspired by the uniforms of the Cornell football team. To learn something. 4 point question. 4 points in You've Got Company. Hands on buzzers. It precedes Pacific in the name of a paper maker headquartered on Peachtree Street. Joe.
Georgia?
Georgia Pacific is correct for 4 points. On Peachtree Street, that makes sense. Georgia. Right? 6 point question. The Apogee and Century 2 are these made by Cross. Miriam.
Pens.
Those
Best
are
pens
pens.
ever.
Nice job. They are good pens. 6 points over to the blue team, extending that lead to 29 points. So we got an 8 point question. 8 point question. Hands on buzzers. In 1999, this company spun off Delphi, which became the biggest U.S. auto parts supplier, but went bankrupt in 2005. In 1999, this company spun off Delphi, which became the biggest U.S. auto parts supplier, but went bankrupt in 2005. 10 seconds. Miriam.
GM.
GM is correct for 8 points. Nice job. I was going to say, if you're from Michigan, you would 100% know that Delphi was
Love Michigan.
It is the best.
The
Add an
best
extra
state.
point. No, you don't get anything. 10-point question. 10-point question. Oh, and it's the return of the surprise substitution taco. Surprise substitution taco. Okay, he's there. Surprise substitution taco. 10-point question. So this is a big surprise substitution. Again, could mean some big points for either team. We are going to go to. Gotta find it. Hold on. Let's go to. There it is. At the dentist's office. No, that's the wrong one. Animals. Animals. We're going to go to animals. Yeah, I like that. Animals for 10 points. Hands on buzzers. During the last week of October, the Los Angeles SPCA, like many other shelters, bans adoption of these. Ray.
What are black cats?
Black cats is correct for 10 points. Nice job. Last week of October, they're not letting anybody adopt black cats. Seems to make sense, right? Way to piece that one together. Nice work. That brings the score back to 27 points. So it's 97 for There Will Be Babka, 70 for Me, Casa, Marzu. I'm still horrified by that reading comprehension passage, but nice job. Let's go to our last two categories.
You're the first one who's commented on that.
Oh yeah, I really appreciated the name. It's really going deep catalog, but it's something that anybody who's ever read that remembers. Next up is Stein Time. Stein Time. This is going to be about famous people with Stein somewhere in their name. So Stein Time. All right. 2-point question. 2-point question. In 1902, he took a job in the patent office in Bern, Switzerland. Charlie.
Einstein.
Ein is the correct Stein for that 2-point question. 19 years later, he won a Nobel Prize. Nice work. 4-point question in Stein Time. Hands on buzzers. In this 1925 film, Russian director Sergei Eisenstein. Ray.
Eisenstein was going to be my answer. I will guess Battleship Potemkin.
Potemkin is correct for 4 points. Way to piece it together after hearing the part of the clue that you were going to ring in on. Way to go. 6 points. 6 points in Stein Time. Hands on buzzers. On January 18th, 1958, this conductor hosted the first of many Miriam.
Leonard Bernstein? I guess Bernstein.
Yes, that is correct. He hosted the first of many young people's concerts on CBS. Nice work for 6 points. 8-point question. Man, my arms are getting tired. We got another surprise substitution. Surprise substitution. We can have up to 3, I think. So this is the last one. Surprise substitution in Stein Time. We'll give you something good here for 8 points. We're going with 24 the novel. 24 the novel. This is a category with questions about novels that all take place in a single 24-hour span. Okay. So the answer will be a novel that all takes place within the course of one day. 8-point question, hands on buzzers. This novelist has Clarissa Dalloway re-examine her life. Ray.
Who's Virginia Woolf?
Virginia Woolf is correct. If you saw the movie The Hours, has Clarissa Dalloway re-examine her life choices in between dealing with the last-minute party details. Virginia Woolf is correct. Nice job. We've got one last question in Stein Time to get back to finish out that category. Still a close game. 10-point question, hands on buzzers. Bohemian general Albrecht von Wallenstein won decisive battles during this decades-long 17th century war. Miriam.
The 30-Year War.
The 30 Years' War is correct for 10 points. General Albrecht von Wallenstein. That's really fun to say. Maybe I'll just change my name to that so I can walk around and say that. Albrecht von Wallenstein. We got one category left. It is 113 to 84. Not completely out of reach for the red team. So you're really going to have to step it up in this last category. It is Greek alphabet soup. Greek alphabet soup. All the answers will include a letter from the Greek alphabet. I think something like that, or be about something with Greek alphabet. Anyway, Greek alphabet soup. 5 last questions. Started with a 2-point question in Greek alphabet soup. Hands on buzzers. Also, thank you all for a really good game today. I'm enjoying this. 2-point question. She was the advertising global spokeswoman for T-Mobile from 2002 to 2006. Ben.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. Zeta is a Greek letter. Catherine Zeta-Jones is correct for 2 points. Nice job, Ben. 4-point question. 4 points, Greek alphabet soup. This Swiss watch company was founded by Andy.
Omega.
It was actually not founded by Andy, but Omega is correct. Was founded by Louis Brandt in 1848. Nice job for 4 points, Andy. Too bad you didn't create a watch company, though. Then I would really say congratulations. 6-point question. 6 points. Greek alphabet soup. Hands on buzzers. These waves of roughly 7 to 13 hertz are associated with relaxation and creativity in the brain. Ryan.
Sine waves.
Sine waves are incorrect. We'll take away a good old 6 points from the blue team. We'll toss it over to the red team and give them a chance to answer. I'll read it one more time, though. These waves of roughly 7 to 13 hertz are associated with relaxation and creativity in the brain. 10 seconds. It's more stressful. All right, give us an answer.
All right, my team's telling me alpha.
Alpha is the correct Greek letter for 6 points. Nice job on the steal. Still hanging in there. Alpha waves. That's a Greek letter. 2 questions left. Next question for 8 points. Hands on buzzers. This was a 1970s #1 hit for Helen Reddy. This, Miriam.
Delta Dawn. What flower have you on?
Delta Dawn. Also embarrassed for you for knowing that one, but a very big set of 8 points for your team. Delta Dawn is correct. You can always tell people now when you hear the song Delta Dawn that it helped you in this very matchup. It was a triple stumper on the show, too, so high five from afar for Delta Dawn. Last question for 10 points. 10 points in Greek alphabet soup. In this type of testing, electronic equipment, Ray.
What is beta testing?
Beta testing is correct for 10 points. Is subjected to real-world conditions in which it'll be used. As I mentioned, great game. That is our last question. Final score, 117 to there will be Babka. You are continuing on to the final 6 teams. Mikasa Marzu, I'm glad that I at least understood your team name before we send you packing. Ray, I know you'll be back next year to avenge this loss along with your great team.
Great.
Good work, guys.
Great
Well fought.
game. Nice job, Ethan.
Thanks.
Yeah,